So after the first weekend of the Gauntlet game mode, it is already abundantly clear what the hardest levels of the game mode are. And if you took a look at the leaderboard, at the time I'm making this at least, you'd be able to see what the first great wall of the Gauntlet mode is. And this would be levels 141 through 160. And this would be due to the Vitality modifier. If you didn't know, this new modifier makes it so the behemoth constantly heals, and you will have to break every single part for it to die. Except when you don't. There are a few bugs with this modifier, but honestly, the times where you don't have to break every part are where it matters the least. But what makes his modifier so difficult to manage is how absurdly tanky the behemoth parts are in the higher levels of the gauntlet. When going for behemoth kills normally at this high of a level, you're typically only going to be breaking one part per behemoth. And this modifier requires you to break every single part, so you can kind of understand how this becomes quite a bit difficult. Even if you are running boosted part damage sources like Sharpened and Bladestorm, there are still rounds and particular behemoths that are going to give you quite a bit of trouble on these. And there are 3 levels of each Vitality cycle in particular that should be the most troublesome. The first is the 9th level of each cycle, the Terra Escalation, if you will, and this is because it starts off with Rockfall Skarn. But this is going to be the most manageable of these really hard ones, because you are going to be running a shock weapon already for the rest of the level. For the same reason, level 12 of each Vitality cycle is also going to be tough, but not only because Skarn is the first behemoth, but because the Skarn also has Tough Hide, and Tough Hide is going to make those parts take less damage unless they are wounded, so they'll take more damage. And then the third really hard level of each Vitality cycle is going to be level 16, where you have Deadeye Quillshot and Flameborn Quillshot on the same first round. What these 3 levels have in common is that they start off with an armored behemoth. For Skarn, it obviously protects the entire body, and then for Quillshot, it protects the tail, the front 2 arms, and then kind of protects the head. But level 16 of the cycles with this modifier, being with Deadeye Quillshot and Flameborn Quillshot, are the hardest of the bunch, because this is the only one that starts off with 2 of these behemoths back to back. After dealing with the Skarn on level 9 of these cycles, you will then have a Karabak, which is a much easier task in comparison. And then on level 12, after the Skarn with Tough Hide, you would then have Valamir. Compared to other behemoths, Valamir does have a lot of core HP, but this doesn't necessarily always translate down to the parts. But its parts are definitely still tankier than a Karabak. But this then culminates in level 16 of these cycles having 2 armored behemoths to deal with. And if squads of really good Trials players have a tough time with this one, then you know this level is truly terrifying. But the good news is if you get out of these Vitality levels, the next 60 to 80 levels are pretty easy in comparison. Like, might only be passing those Vitality rounds with a few minutes left to spare, but on the next cycle you'll probably still have 10 minutes left to spare. Now, having some kind of stall in the progression makes sense, but even a squad of people who are constantly at the top of the leaderboard for squads trials are having trouble on the 4th Vitality cycle. On level 12 of the cycle, having only 39 seconds to spare against Skarn. This one starts with 5 minutes on the timer, and I'm pretty sure the next one starts with 4 minutes 30 on the timer, so if all else stays the same, then they'll only kill Skarn with about 9 seconds to spare. But even that second Vitality cycle of level 141 through 160 is giving guilds a really hard time, even with top quality Trials players in them. So the question is this okay? There's already a huge gap in levels between 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then there's only a handful of levels between 3rd place and 10th place. So the competition, at least at the top right now, is kind of unhealthy. And if not many guilds are able to pass these rounds at all, then there likely won't be the incentive for people to keep going. The modifier's concept itself isn't really the issue here. It's more of the execution. In its current state, it's not quite balanced in my opinion. If you ask me, behemoths with this modifier should have some kind of part health penalty. Even if it's pretty modest, like 20 to 30% or so shaved off, it would at least be a little bit more reasonable, especially when you're throwing on Tough Hide as a modifier for this Skarn. And at 70 or 80% or so of the current max part health, it would be a bit more reasonable to ask to break all of the parts on these behemoths, where again, you'd typically only be breaking one of these parts when you're killing it normally. And even a small nerf like this could go a long way for the healthy competition of the game mode. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching. Let me know how far you've gotten in the Gauntlet game mode. Once things kind of slow down, I'll probably do something like how many levels can I reasonably solo? With a game mode built for squads, it's only reasonable to ask this question. Perhaps I'll see if a Vitality level is even possible to do solo. But I don't know. That's it from me. I have been Trevor. I go by TheMrTrails, and I will catch you guys next time.